What's up, fellow entrepreneurs? It's John Fagerholm again, and earlier this month I had done a video about all of the laws that are coming into play in 2020. So now I wanted to get into specific laws, because the previous video I just referenced was a summary of all of these different laws. Most of them, of course, were bad for us business owners, but there was one or two that either were innocuous or benefited us. I think there was only one in particular that benefited us. But anyway, let me get into AB 5. So the gist of AB 5 is that AB 5 codifies the Dynamex case, and the Dynamex case is, been out since October 2018. So everyone's panicking about AB 5, and honestly, I think even if they shouldn't panic, they should be seriously concerned about what's going on. Now, what Dynamex did was it expanded it changed the analysis of what an independent contractor was. And so it expanded it from what used to be what California used to determine whether somebody was an employee or an independent contractor, which was called the Borrello test. So now Dynamex is in place, and the difference between Dynamex and AB 5 is that Dynamex is case law. And basically it's some judge made a ruling that, yes, this new test should apply to independent contractors in California. Now, AB 5 codifies that and expands it a little bit, and worst of all, or the worst thing about this, is that it then gives California enforcement powers. So everyone's afraid of Dynamex. They know it's coming January 1, 2020, but what most employers don't realize is, I'm sorry, not Dynamex, AB 5. They're afraid of AB 5, but what they didn't realize is that that was existing law already anyway, since 2018, October 2018. So it isn't that you can't be sued under Dynamex, you can. So as of October 1, 2018, any of your independent contractors could sue you privately, claiming that you were that they were misclassified, and could seek whatever remedies that the law allowed. But now with AB 5, I'm sorry guys, I keep getting these alerts. Now with AB 5, basically nobody even has to complain. So if you had someone that you thought was an independent contractor, and they're happy and you're happy and there's no problems, but then California comes knocking at your door and says, hey, we think that these group of people should be employees under AB 5. Well, now where a problem didn't exist, one does. And of course, with California and any other government agency, really, along with all of those problems comes a bunch of fines and things that you will have to pay to California, of course. So that's the big problem with AB 5. Now, let me just read my notes here, because I wanted to make sure that, besides just sort of giving my opinion on what AB 5 is, and not opinion, but what I think about AB 5, is to actually make sure people understand what it is. So the AB 5 applies more broadly than Dynamex, and it also, meaning it covers a lot more of what would have been termed independent contractors, and it also gives the enforcement power. Those are the two big things about Dynamex. Now, so under Dynamex, there was an ABC test, right? And so, well, previously with the Borrello test, the primary factors was degree of control, do they use your own equipment, do they have their own business license, things like that. So what Dynamex has done is expanded Borrello, but also added things that would make it, would expand what an independent contractor is. So the A test is the person is free from the control and direction of the hiring entity in connection with the performance of the work. So that was already part of Borrello anyway. the C portion of it, and I'm getting to C before B because B is the important one. The person is customarily engaged in an independently established trade, occupation, or business of the same nature as that involved in the work performed. So that was already part of Borello. Now it's the B portion that's a problem for everybody. The person performs work that is outside the usual course of the hiring entity's business. So basically, if you are a law firm and you hire a plumber, well, plumber doesn't do legal work, no problem, right? You pass the B test. However, if I hired a lawyer, that would be something different. But there are exceptions, certain occupations that are exempt from this, lawyers being one of them, so that may not have been the best example, but my point was that if lawyers weren't an exemption, and I hired some other separate entity lawyer to do something for one of my clients, then they could potentially be considered an employee of mine. That was the point of saying that, even though they're exempt. All right, so let's see. So getting onto the exemptions, there's certain things, certain classifications that are exempt. Insurance salesmen, lawyers, a lot of white-collar type of exemptions. I mean, you can go online and see what exemptions there are for yourself, but I can't name them all. But at the end of the day, there aren't enough there to really make much of a difference. The one I thought was funny was not an exemption, but one that wasn't exempt that you would think would be exempt was strippers. I just thought that was funny. You know, I feel bad for the strip clubs because this is probably going to put most of them out of business. Now, what was Dynamex targeting? Well, really, and what is AB5 really targeting? It's really targeting the gig economy. So if you're in any type of gig economy, watch out. If you're using independent contracts at all, at least look to see if there's an exemption. If there isn't, then make sure that you're past the ABC test. It's unfortunate. We are in a gig economy. Uber, Lyft, wonderful companies. I just don't see how they're going to get around this paying minimum wage, workers' comp, overtime, lunch breaks. I mean, I just don't know how they're gonna do it. I think their best option is just to fight it. And you know what I'm most bummed about is I use Uber Eats 3 times a week. I just don't see how Uber Eats is gonna get around it. January 1 is coming up very quickly. My guess is that they're either going to have to pay that money, which of course is going to give us worse service and cost us more money, or there's going to be some stay by some judge, or there's going to be some agreement. I don't know. Either way, if you're an employer in California and you're using independent contractors, be very, very, very careful. Make sure that they don't fall under Dynamex AB5, kind of similar, same thing. And if you are using independent contractors anyway without making sure that they comply with Dynamex and AB5, it's just not worth it. The cost of this is not going to be worth the money that you save. So, bad news for California employers. We knew this was coming. I've known since Dynamex. I didn't know it was going to be codified, but Dynamex was going to be terrible anyway. But now that it's codified, it's even worse because you don't even have to have someone complain about it. The government can just come knocking on your door. So that makes Dynamex even worse. But at the end of the day, keep your head up, be productive, and let's see if we can't vote some people in that are gonna be friendly to business, because there just aren't many of them out there. All right, fellow entrepreneurs, until next time, be productive.